Welcome to Best English Stories. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel for more interesting and beautiful stories. One winter night, a man stood in a forest in the Carpathian Mountains. He was carrying a rifle, and it seemed that he was waiting and listening for some wild animal. But Ulrich von Gradwitz was looking for a human enemy. Ulrich had a lot of land. This land was full of all different kinds of wild animals, but he always guarded carefully one particular area of this land. It was mountainous, and not many animals lived there. So why did Ulrich guard this land so carefully? Many years ago, Ulrich's grandfather and a neighbor, Heinrich Znaim, had both wanted the same portion of land. So why did Ulrich guard this land so carefully? Many years ago, Ulrich's grandfather and a neighbor, Heinrich Znaim, had both wanted the same portion of land. They went to court, and Ulrich's grandfather won the case. Heinrich Znaim, however, did not accept the court's decision. He continued to hunt on the land. The two families began fighting. Ulrich and Heinrich Znaim's grandson Georg hated each other passionately. When they were boys, they wanted to kill each other. Now they were men, and they each wanted the other to suffer. This night, Ulrich and his forest guards were out looking for Georg and his men. It was a stormy night, and the wind was strong. Ulrich saw deer running from the contested area of land. Normally, during a storm, deer stay in one place, so he knew that his enemy was near. He told his guards to wait at the top of a hill and walked off into the woods and down the hill by himself. He listened carefully for the sound of branches breaking. "I hope," he said to himself, "I will meet Georg Znaim tonight man to man. If I kill him here, no one will ever know." At that moment, as Ulrich walked around the trunk of a gigantic tree, he came face to face with Georg Znaim. The enemies stared at each other for a long, silent moment. Each man had a rifle in his hand. Each man had hate in his heart, and each man had murder in his thoughts. But it is difficult for a civilized man to shoot his neighbor in cold blood. They had to say something. At this moment, however, the wind blew particularly hard, and there was a crash. A gigantic tree fell on top of the two men. Ulrich von Gradwitz could not move. One arm was probably broken, and the other arm was partly under the trunk. His legs were under a large branch. His face was badly cut, and he had to blink several times to move the blood from his eyes. Almost next to him lay Georg Znaim, alive and fighting to move. Ulrich could see that he was in almost the same condition. Ulrich was both happy to be alive and angry at his situation. Georg was almost blind from the blood that flowed into his eyes from cuts on his forehead. He stopped moving for a moment to listen, and then he laughed angrily. "So, you weren't killed," said Georg, "but you're caught anyway. That's very funny. Ulrich von Gradwitz caught in his stolen forest. Now that is real justice." And he laughed again angrily and ironically. "I'm caught in my own forest," replied Ulrich. "When my men come to release me, you'll be sorry that you were caught poaching here in my forest." Georg was silent for a moment. Then he answered quietly, "Are you sure that your men will find you first? I have men too in the forest tonight. They're near, and they'll find me first. When they pull me out, perhaps by accident, of course, they'll push the trunk on top of you. Your men will find you dead under this tree. Then, because I am a gentleman, I shall send my condolences to your family." "That's a good idea," said Ulrich angrily and ironically. "I told my men to follow me after 10 minutes. 7 of those 10 minutes have gone by already, and when they come, I'll remember your idea." "That's a good idea," said Ulrich angrily and ironically. "I told my men to follow me after 10 minutes. 7 of those 10 minutes have gone by already, and when they come, I'll remember your idea. Only I can't decently send condolences to your family. After all, you were poaching on my land." "Good," growled Georg. "Good. We shall fight to the death. Just you and I and our guards, with no interlopers. Death and damnation to you, Ulrich von Gradwitz. The same to you, Georg's name, forest thief, poacher." But both men knew that it was a question of chance which man's guards would come first. Now the 2 men had stopped trying to get free. Ulrich tried with his partially free arm to pull out his wine flask. After a few minutes, he finally succeeded. Then after another few minutes, he succeeded in pulling off the stopper. He drank a little. It was truly wonderful. In this cold weather, the wine warmed his body. Then he looked with pity at Georg, who was fighting not to scream in pain. "Can you reach the flask if I throw it to you?" Ulrich asked suddenly. "There's good wine in it, and there's no reason why we should suffer. Let us drink, even if tonight one of us dies." "No, I can't see anything because I have dried blood on my eyes," said Georg. "And in any case, I don't drink wine with an enemy." Ulrich was silent for a few minutes, listening to the sound of the wind. An idea was gradually formulating in his brain. This idea grew clearer every time he looked at Georg fighting against his pain. In the pain that Ulrich was feeling, the old hate was beginning to die. "Neighbor," Ulrich said, "you can do what you want if your men come first. It was a fair agreement, but I've changed my mind. If my men come first, they will help you first, as though you were my guest. We have fought all our lives over this stupid portion of forest. Tonight, lying here thinking, I have come to the conclusion that we have been fools. What is so important about this portion of forest? Neighbor, if you help me end this fight, I'll ask you to be my friend." Georg Znaim was silent for a long time. Ulrich began to think that he had fainted because of the pain. Then Georg spoke slowly. "Everyone would be shocked if we rode into town together. Nobody can remember a Znaim and a von Gradwitz talking to each other as friends. And there will be peace among the forest guards and their miles if we end the fight tonight. And if we choose to make peace among our families, there is no one who will interfere, no interlopers from outside. You could come to my house at Christmas, and I could come to your castle on other holidays. I would never hunt on your land if you didn't invite me. And you could come and hunt ducks in my marshes. There is nobody around here who can stop us if we want to make peace. I have always thought that I wanted to hate you, but I changed my mind when you offered me your wine flask. Ulrich von Gradwitz, I will be your friend." Then they were both silent. They were thinking about the wonderful changes this new peace would bring. In the cold, dark forest with the wind blowing, they waited for the help that would free both of them, and each man wanted his men to come first so that he could be the first to help his new friend. Then the wine for a moment, and Ulrich spoke.
"Let's shout for help," he said. "Now that the wind has stopped, they might hear us." "It will be difficult in this forest," replied Georg. "But let's try. Together, then."
The two men shouted together for help.
"Together again,"
said Ulrich a few minutes later. "I heard something that time, I think," said Ulrich. "I only heard the wind," said Georg. There was silence again for a few minutes, and then Ulrich shouted joyfully, "I can see people coming through the forest." Both men shouted again. "They can hear us! They've stopped! Now they've seen us! They're running down the hill toward us!" cried Ulrich. "How many are there?" asked Georg, who could not see because of the dried blood on his eyes.
"I can't see distinctly,"
said Ulrich. 9 or 10. "Then they're your men," said Georg. "I only had 7 men with me tonight."
"They are running quickly."
"What brave men," said Ulrich gladly. "Are they your men?" asked Georg. "Are they your men?" he repeated impatiently, as Ulrich did not answer. "No," said Ulrich with a laugh, but it was the idiotic laugh of a man who is very afraid.
"Who are they?"
asked George quickly, trying to see what the other man would have preferred not to see. "Wolves,"